Hey, I'm John Jameson. I run at Winning Connections. It's a Democratic consulting firm. But, Brad, I got to say, so I agreed with something you said. I think Obama's vulnerable, against some people. But on the other hand, I'd say, what are his numbers? Maybe 15 or 20 points better than, say, Reid's were in Nevada, who still won. And I think your big problem, which is almost every day I pray that Sarah Palin is going to run for president. I think she has a lot to offer America. So I do hope she puts her name out there. But I cannot see a scenario where the party now has a nominee that is not from the far right, is not from the Tea Party. And I'll tell you, there are plenty of thoughtful Republicans, I think, who could do very well against Obama. But the kind of the Palin wing, the anti-intellectuals, and all that, I think you guys have a big problem. And it's when you look at what happened in Republican primaries, I don't see any way someone, except for someone from the far right, is going to be the nominee next time.
Well, you may be right. I'm just going to comment on this, but I learned never to say what you just said, because in 1980 I thought, oh boy, they nominated Reagan, we're going to kick his butt. This is just the best person we could possibly run against. Well, I never have said anything like that ever since. I hope Sarah Palin doesn't get the nomination, because God forbid she could be president.
You know, when you look at how you get the nomination on the Republican part, very few states are winner take all. A lot of states are proportional representation. So if you have Sarah Palin running, if you have Huckabee running, if you have a number of the other candidates running, you have Pence running, you have a lot of candidates running, we're likely to see the first brokered convention that we've seen in years.
And Art and April Hackney here from Alaska can tell you that Sarah Palin and the Republican Party are certainly not synonymous. In fact, when she was tapped to be vice president, the two parties up there had to change their point of view. The Democrats loved her because all she did was attack Republicans. She got elected by defeating a Republican as governor. So the Democrats loved Sarah Palin. The Republicans were not too happy with Sarah Palin in Alaska. And they woke up one day and found out she was the vice presidential nominee in the Republican Party, and they both went like this. But if I'm right, Art, the underlying current, and you only have to look at the unresolved senatorial election in Alaska, where she supported the Republican nominee for the U.S. Senate, and the write-in candidate has more votes than the Republican nominee supported by Sarah Palin. So maybe Sarah Palin, we're not through, we don't know what the outcome of that election is, but maybe Sarah Palin loses, her candidate in Alaska loses in this election that she's supposed to be so influential in. So I'm not sure that she is going to have overwhelming support from the Republican Party. There are certainly some currents underneath that for sure. Felipe, did you have, I think we're going to have to make this a final question.
Okay. Felipe Noguera from Argentina. I don't think I heard the panelists mention anything about something that might be very important for Latin America. And this is the referendum in California about the legalization of marijuana. I think it got, 40-something% of the vote? And I'm wondering whether you feel that this is a step forward towards the decriminalization of drugs, or whether this will put an end to it.
No one in the United States is in favor of the delegalization of drugs. In the California referendum, all the pot growers supported and gave money to the side that was against legalization, because those people involved in growing pot believe that if you legalize pot, they're all out of business, and the big growers will take over this industry. So I don't see how it can pass anywhere when both those for and against legalization are going to support keeping it a criminal act.
Are you saying pot growers are Republican small business people? No.
Oh, I'm going to let that pass, much as it pains me. Oh, it's been so pleasant up till now. I actually think you are going to see the decriminalization. You won't see the legalization, but many, many states have already decriminalized, essentially. In most places, it's a misdemeanor. The use, we're not talking about dealing kilos, but most places, the use is a misdemeanor. The biggest problem with legalization, avoiding the debate about the wisdom of it from a public health point of view inside the states, is it has a huge effect on our relationship with Mexico. I happen to be a big supporter of what Calderon is trying to do, and what he's trying to do, wringing the drug-induced corruption out of government in Mexico, it cannot succeed unless we're willing to do our share, and we're not doing our share. We have a market problem in the United States, and we have a gun problem in the United States in terms of fueling what's going on in Mexico. And our drug policy is very confused, very difficult, and is very much at cross currents because of the very substantial effects it's having on a country that's extremely important to us. But most states go at this from a fiscal and kind of public criminology point of view, and you're seeing decriminalization is almost the rule everywhere. You get a small fine and a mild penalty for using. You only go to jail if you're really a fairly substantial dealer.
I see Brad bristling here. I'm going to give you 30 seconds.
I agree with the governor on anything except the idiocy of saying that the guns used in South America or in Mexico come from a dealer in the United States. I'll give anyone here $5,000 if you can go to a dealer and you can get any of the guns they're finding there. It comes from the fact they buy them from people in the Mexican military. They get them in South America from guns that were sent down there during many of the revolutionary crises that happened, and they get them from the Russians and the Chinese, who are the biggest international gun dealers around. I mean, the idea that guns are coming across the border is some fantasy thought of by the Attorney General of the United States and the President. It just ain't happened. Maybe 1%, but not the rest.
Well, we have had a very calm panel, as you can see. We haven't resolved anything.
Well,
Do
in
you
that
want
case,
30 seconds?
give-
15?
yeah, for that, I'm going back to the pot and the Republican business. Obviously, from their policies, of course they're all smoking pot.